Joe Burrow had one of the more historic games that we'll ever see in NFL history from a quarterback. He had 525 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Ravens. Now, there's been a lot of debate about this because he got the 500 yards late, basically padding his stats a little bit. And some people debated whether or not that was a correct decision to do. I want to know your thoughts on that. But I also want to get your take on whether or not he is the best quarterback in the AFC North. I mean, we know he's better than Baker. We know he's better than Big Ben. So it's really between who's better, Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson. I'm going with Joe Burrow all day, every day.
I'm shocked at that answer.
So I have a question, genuinely. Do you have Joe Burrow in your top 7?
No. Actually, hold up. Let me check. I made my list today on Twitter.
Real quick to answer your first question, I don't care if you run it up. You're in the NFL. You have to stop me.
Yeah. No, I think
we had that same debate against Baltimore when Baltimore had the 100-yard rushing record, and the Pittsburgh's like, "Oh, it's the last play of the game." Like, no, you're in the NFL. You're professional. Stop me. So yeah, go off. I don't care.
Broncos. That was the Broncos. We're the ones that were mad at them for.
Oh yeah, facts.
Joe Burrow is 8.
Do you have Kyler over him?
Kyler is over him.
Okay,
he's at 7.
Thank God. All right, so that's another one, Andrew. Kyler Murray over Lamar. We knew. You had to know. That being said, I hope we all can agree that why should anyone complain about a player running up the scoreboard? You're in the NFL. Stop me. 100%, Joel. You're so right in the money.
I don't think Lamar's been a top 10 quarterback this season.
There's been in the early parts of the season, he 100% was a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
There was from weeks 1 to that week against the Colts where he led that ridiculous comeback. Yeah. No doubt about it, he was a top 5 quarterback.
I think these quarterbacks have been better than him this year.
This year, yes, in hindsight.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and then I have Lamar at 11.
I don't disagree with your list at all, given the fact that hindsight.
And I'll say this:
that's fine.
Everybody's gonna say this is recency bias because Burrow's having a better year, Lamar's having a down year. Okay, I'll just use their stats in the past 2 seasons. Joe Burrow last year as a rookie, he was also very phenomenal before he got hurt. And when comparing the last 2 seasons, Joe Burrow has 6,853 yards. 43 passing touchdowns to 19 interceptions. Lamar has 5,639 yards, 42 touchdowns to 22 interceptions.
This is passing yards?
Yes. Obviously, I'm not counting. Yeah, okay. I know. I understand. But
you get another 2K for Lamar.
I understand. Burrow has a 97 passer rating. Lamar has a 93 passer rating. Burrow has 5 rushing touchdowns, 250 yards rushing, 5 fumbles. Lamar, this is where it's drastic. He has 1,772 yards rushing, 9 rushing touchdowns, and 9 fumbles. But he's played 2 more games than Burrow, and Burrow has completed 68% of his passes in that span. Lamar is 64%. And this year, he's 16th in QBR. Lamar is.
Yeah, Burrow's might be 1, right? I remember seeing that stat.
That's
he was
PFF.
He was low.
Joe Burrow, I believe, he is 13th in QBR this year.
So what I'm hearing is they're close in a lot of key stats. Sure, Burrow has him in passing yards, but I'm expecting that.
Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in the past 2 seasons, their stats are neck and neck. And Burrow was a rookie last year. And he came off a knee injury where he broke his ACL, his MCL. Like Joe Burrow, if you compare the past 2 seasons, has been just as good, if not better than Lamar. And Joe Burrow's season last year was shortened. Then this season, he's coming back from a devastating knee injury, and he's leading the Bengals to the playoffs first in the AFC North. Sure. Who could have predicted that before the season?
I mean, Lamar Jackson is a rookie, bro.
Yeah. Dude, he was 20. He threw 26.
Lamar Jackson completed 56% of his passes as a rookie.
All right, okay, but he made the playoffs.
That's because the Ravens have a good team.
You're trying to
you're
downplaying Lamar's.
And you're also throwing out his MVP. You're also throwing out.
That is what you're doing.
Excluding his 2019 season, which was his best year.
And he'll never reach that height again.
He was having a better year statistically this season.
This is what I want to say.
I want to finish.
Okay, finish.
We're throwing away the 26-9 last season with over 1,000 rushing. we can't say Joe Burrow was going to do that last season. Forget about the rushing. 26-9 is impressive.
That's throwing
I know.
too.
I wouldn't expect Joe Burrow in his rookie year to be as good as Lamar in year 3 and MVP in the NFL. I wouldn't expect
Lamar was
that.
MVP year 2.
But the fact that
he was MVP year 2.
Okay, but the fact that you can compare Burrow last 2 seasons and Lamar's last 2 seasons, even though Burrow was a rookie,
but Lamar is not a pass. Okay, he's a passing quarterback.
What do I want my
degree.
Quarterback to be, bro?
I want him to win.
Lamar, exactly.
What is Burrow doing right now?
Who's the best? Lamar. He has the most wins since he was 25.
Look, if we're talking this season,
that's because he had a stacked roster.
The roster's not stacked,
bro. What the hell? What are you talking about?
Was not crazy.
Last year, the Ravens
or last year,
not this year.
Okay,
last year the Ravens were projected to be the best team in the AFC
because Lamar's coming off an MVP.
Facts.
And
because of Lamar.
The Ravens got Calais Campbell last offseason. They got scores against the run versus Derrick Henry in the playoffs. They got Calais Campbell. Everybody was projecting them to have 14 plus wins. They disappointed,
because of Lamar.
Bro.
But bro, you look
because of the team. The offensive line was great. The defense was elite. Let's not saying it's just because of Lamar.
They didn't have Staley last season. Orlando Brown.
Staley did play last season. He got injured midway. He got injured midway, bro. You want to bet?
Sure.
Go look at how many games Staley started.
You look in 2020 and 2021. Last season, we all liked Andrews. We thought he was definitely at least above
Andrews
average
has always been a great tight end, bro.
But this year he's becoming an elite tight end. Now he's a top 3 option.
This year he's been a top 3 tight end in the NFL.
Before this, he was probably borderline like top 5.
He was top. Yeah,
that's
great.
I know, but this year he's taking another step.
He played 6 games last year.
That's like half the season. 8 is half the season. So yeah, but
like
half the season.
Mark Andrews took another step this year because it's 2 leading receivers. I'm taking nothing away from Burrow, but we're not going to sit and pretend like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins plus Joe Mixon isn't one of the best top 3 weapons on any team in the league.
I agree with you 100%. The Bengals have one of the best cores in the NFL when we talk weapons wise.
And Auden Tate.
For as much. Exactly, and Auden Tate. And he's not even playing on IR. Imagine they had Auden Tate. They'd be going berserk.
He'd throw for 6,000.
But the Bengals also have the 29th ranked offensive line in the NFL right now. So it's not like Burrow's getting a bunch of time. Andrew, you were the same person that told me early in the season that you're taking the combination of Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown over DeAndre Hopkins. And I think you still stay firm on that opinion.
I do.
Guess what? For as much injuries as the Ravens have had on their offensive line as well, the Ravens are the 12th ranked offensive line this season. Lamar is throwing to Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown. Yes, the running backs, the most replaceable position in football, hasn't been there for Lamar. But when we talk about receivers, tight ends, and an offensive line, Lamar has still had that, yet has had his worst season statistically since entering the NFL outside of his rookie year. 16 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, 16th in QBR. It's not like he has no help. He's not Russell Wilson in it right now. No. He has help.
I will say this. He has been decimated with injuries. He's lost key pieces to this O-line.
And the running backs.
Went to the running backs 100%. The defense has done nothing to help him.
The defense has been terrible.
The defense, they've had their moments. They've
overall been bad.
They're average.
I want to finish this.
Bad. So they're average.
I want to finish this. Last season, when Staley went out, before they went out, they were 5-1. Staley goes down, they lose immediately. They end the season 11-5. Regardless of that, they had a solid season. However, Staley has been unreliable these last 2 years. This year specifically, you lose Staley, you trade Orlando Brown in the offseason, you trade him to your contender, the contender in the AFC, in the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you're depleting your depth at the offensive line. Staley goes out. You lose other pieces on this O-line. The defense is decimated beyond belief. Like Joel mentioned, you lose J.K. Dobbins. You lose Gus Edwards. Rashad Bateman comes in 5 games into the start of the season. You're not really getting true chemistry with your your first-round draft pick. He was given a lot to overcome this offseason. And for 5, 6, 7 weeks, Lamar Jackson did overcome it, but it got to a point in the season where injuries just completely sucked the life out of this team, and Lamar Jackson's only human. He could not overcome it.
And he's still at 8 wins in 13 full games.
You're right. Okay. You have an excellent point. Despite all the injuries to the offensive line, you're right. They don't have a top 10 offensive line anymore. They still have the 12th ranked one, though. Despite all the injuries, they still have it.
Lamar's mobility allows those numbers to be a little bit skewed. I say the same thing with Kyler Murray.
Their offensive line is still okay. It's still good. Their ranking is 12th. The ranking is 12th in the NFL. You can talk about the mobility thing, all those aspects. I'm sure all these football analytics sites like PFF take that into account. Because this is measured up from Football Outsiders, PFF, and an analytics, and it's all combined and it makes one score. The same thing, the same chart shows the Dolphins dead last, and we can agree that's a pretty accurate statement.
But Tua is not nearly as mobile as a Lamar, a Herbert, a Kyler.
You're mentioning all the stuff Lamar's had to overcome. Yes, he's had injuries on the offensive line.
He's had injuries.
Yes, the offensive line is still good. The weapons are still good. We've said it before. These are the best weapons Lamar has had in his entire career.
I agree.
What did Joe Burrow have to overcome? A coach that was on the hot seat if he didn't have a winning season, and Zach Taylor, who at the time before the season was unproven. An offensive line that's 29th ranked in the NFL. He had a brutal knee injury.
Is Burrow proven?
Burrow has proven himself this year.
But they said Lamar wasn't proven until he got his first playoff win.
Yeah, that's the narrative.
We gotta wait.
The narrative.
Can we wait before
Lamar?
Better?
Everyone was wrong about Lamar, so they had to do something else. It was he can't come back from if he's losing. He can't win a playoff game. Now he's done it.
Joe, beat the Chiefs. You're right. There's a difference though. With Lamar, at first it was can he pass? He proved that. The next one it was can he win in the playoffs? Because the Ravens, they got upset.
They did.
They had a bye and they lost to the Titans that should have never beat them. Mm-hmm. That's why there were different expectations for Lamar, because you were the unanimous MVP in the NFL and you lost in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, what he has to prove right now is that he's a franchise quarterback.
Which he's proven to me.
I agree.
Which he has proved.
I 100% agree.
Lamar has already proved he's a franchise quarterback. The next step is, can he win in the playoffs now? So there's different expectations for them, and that's why I say it's a bit different. Joe Burrow has had to overcome a lot. And when talking about who I want to go moving forward with, do I want to go with Joe Burrow, who he's a better passer than Lamar?
Yes.
I just feel like the lifespan of quarterbacks that run and play the style of play that Lamar plays in,
no, you're right.
It's just not sustainable.
Yeah, I think they're both.
And despite that, even like Joe Burrow has been drastically better than Lamar. A lot of quarterbacks have been drastically better than Lamar this season.
You just read out the stats. They're Burrow has been marginally better, yes,
in the last 2 seasons. But if we just do this season, it's not even close.
But then you're taking into account Lamar's number one asset, and that's him running. He's the best rushing quarterback we've seen ever.
Even with the rushing, though, Joe Burrow is completing 70% of his passes this year. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards. He has 30 touchdowns.
He's a beast,
14 interceptions.
I know. I'm not taking anything away.
So this season, Joe Burrow versus Lamar, it's not close.
If we're talking this season, agreed. You're asking, the question was, who is the best quarterback in the division? You can't right now. You cannot give it to Burrow.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Burrow.
If we want to talk longevity, I will shake your hand because I agree. I think I would take a passer over a running quarterback.
Right now, I'm taking Burrow.
You cannot until he shows you in the playoffs he's as good as we all think he can be.
And I think he will. He won a national championship, did he? He's built for these type of moments. He's built for it.
They're both tier 2 quarterbacks to me.
And we talk about Lamar.
I don't think they're in the Herbert, Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers tier.
See the difference to me, because now we're getting to the longevity aspect of it. I do believe Burrow could get into that tier. I think Lamar will be stuck at tier 2.
I've had this debate a lot. Not this Burrow and Lamar debate, but I had this debate about Lamar's weapons and his help a lot. His rookie season, okay. I just kind of sweep that under the rug because he didn't have his best season. He still led into the playoffs, but he did have help. His second year, that roster was stacked. They had the best offensive line in football. They had the best rushing attack in football. A lot of it is credit to Lamar. Yeah. I understand. The weapons weren't there at that point in time. Even though they had Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown,
they are now.
Mark Andrews was still a great tight end at that time. He's put himself in elite now, but he was a great tight end in 2018 and 2019 in Lamar's second season, his MVP season. And their defense was one of the best in the NFL. Like, they were a great team. The knock on the team was they can't pass the ball. Lamar can't come from behind. I mean, yeah, because they built the offense around Lamar's strengths, and that's what maximized him as a player. The very next year, they had the same roster, but they got Calais Campbell. Marshall Yonder retired. That was huge, but they still had one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. And as much as people want to discredit Greg Roman, this guy, when he was with Buffalo in 2015 with Tyrod Taylor, they had the best rushing attack with him and LaShawn McCoy. So Greg Roman, as much people want to knock him for his passing concepts, this guy maximizes your team's rushing ability.
For sure.
Now this year, Lamar still has help. That offensive line is still good enough. Those receivers have gotten better. You raved about Hollywood Brown. Mark Andrews is an elite tight end now. Are we going to say Lamar has no help on offense just because the most replaceable position in football in a running back is not there for him?
That is their offense, though. Their main way to attack a defense is running the ball. And Lamar, let's not act like he had a terrible full season. His first 5-6 games, like you said, that Chiefs game, those Colts game, he looked phenomenal. He was on pace to have better stats than his MVP season. Yes, his next 6-7 games, he came back down to earth and he struggled.
That matters.
Okay, but I've already seen multiple years of Lamar being able to win MVPs, go to the playoffs, win playoff games. I don't care about a 6-game stop.
What's the knock on Russell Wilson?
He cools down second half.
So why don't we say the same thing for Lamar? He cooled down the second half of the year.
Bro, this was
not last year.
Am I gonna this year? I'm talking about this year. Am I gonna credit Lamar for something he didn't do?
Why are we disrespecting Lamar like we haven't seen a team
be a unanimous MVP?
Forget about that. When was the last time we saw a team be as unlucky as the Baltimore Ravens this season?
They've been killed.
They have been lucky.
How?
They're come from behind wins against the Chiefs. Who was the one that fumbled that put the Ravens in position to win?
Okay, and how about the Colts victory though? We're going to say that wasn't all Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson was great in that game, but let's not act like the Ravens haven't gotten lucky this season. Yes, they absolutely have.
I'll shut down the second half thing because like I was alluding to a little bit before, last season they started 5-1. Staley went down. They actually got to 5-5. They went undefeated the rest of the season after that. So Lamar can get it done second half. We've seen it.
I don't know why that was.
This season.
No. I didn't say he can't get it done second half.
You're just saying this season.
You brought up the thought.
I'm not.
You did.
You brought up the thought.
No, I didn't.
You did. Because you said what's Russell Wilson's...
Russell Wilson was on pace to break passing records in the first half of the year last year.
But that's happened for us year after year after year after year. This happened a 5-game stretch for Lamar. His fourth season in the league.
The reason why Russell wasn't MVP was because of that second half of the year. Therefore, I'm not going to credit Lamar for slowing down in the second half of the year. If he slowed down in the second half, that's what happened. I'm not going to give him brownie points for being good in the first half and, he couldn't maintain it in the second half, but, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to sweep it under the rug. It doesn't matter.
We have multiple years of Lamar being productive, winning games, coming back, winning the playoffs. That I don't care about a bad 5-game stretch.
He's won one game in the playoffs.
Regardless, okay, one game. Once he won a game.
You're talking about Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl champion.
I never brought up Russ. You did. I am not going to talk about Russ and Lamar in the same light.
You're talking about Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson come from. You were just mentioning Lamar Jackson's come from behind victories. Russell Wilson has 10 times more what he has.
Yes, Russell Lamar. Obviously, he's better. He's obviously better.
But we're talking about Burrow, and we're talking about Lamar, and we're talking about how over these last couple of seasons, last 3 seasons, Lamar has been proven. He doesn't. Only thing he has to prove.
I never said he wasn't proven.
I'm just
win a Super Bowl. That's the only thing he has to do.
The only thing he has to prove. Joe Burrow has been excellent this season. If you are saying you're projecting Joe Burrow to be better than Lamar Jackson, I will shake your hand because I agree. Off this season, you can't say it yet until Burrow wins.
You want to know why?
Let's hear it.
You want to know why?
I'm interested.
See, I like how you worded that. If you're projecting Burrow to be better than Lamar, you have a case. Rather than if you look at the numbers this season, you have the ultimate case. Yes, in the past, Lamar has been better. Mostly due to the fact that Burrow was only in the league for 1 year and got injured. Yes.
So is Burrow better than Russell Wilson?
He's playing better than him this year.
But is he better than Russell Wilson?
That's a great question.
He is.
Oh, yo, that's real.
He is.
I respect it. I don't agree, but I respect it.
If I'm the Denver Broncos,
the reasons he's crazy.
But also Russell Wilson has been good this year. He has a 99 passer rating, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions.
He got hurt.
He said his beginning of the year he was eating.
If I'm the Denver Broncos, and I'm like, if I'm picking between a QB, Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow, I'm going with Joe Burrow
for one season, or just like because Burrow's significantly younger. You're saying one season, I'll take Russ, but if you're like to start a franchise, yeah, I'll take Burrow.
You're crazy.
Joe Burrow.
You're forgetting how great Russell Wilson is.
No,
bro.
I know Russell Wilson is great. But
He's a Super Bowl champion.
This
He's
season,
Lamar, Super Bowl champion.
Season,
Burrow's done nothing except the regular season, bro.
This season, I'm giving it to Burrow.
Okay, and that's fine.
No, I agree.
But we didn't say that. You said the other way around.
But also, I'm going to say
better. It wasn't who's better this season, because then this wouldn't be a topic.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's who's better, period. And if you're...
Who's better? Joe Burrow's better. He's been better.
He's been better this year, bro.
Yes,
but
and this
general,
year, yes, and NFL's a year.
Russ.
NFL, you know, I find this really funny coming from you two guys.
Oh yeah, it's rich coming from you, bro. It's rich coming from you.
Before I say what I want to say, I just want to mention this briefly because we talked about whether or not it was disrespect for the Bengals to run up the score. Yeah, and I love that it was disrespectful. The Bengals should have ran up the score, and Joe Burrow said this isn't Pee Wee football.
Yeah.
They ran it up on us last year,
yeah.
and that's
I
a
love
fact.
That. I love that.
Because last year, you look at it. Last year, the Ravens blew the Bengals out. They beat them 27-3, then 38-3. Yeah, Burrow run up the score this year.
100%.
And people that want to talk about, Burrow only threw 500 yards against a garbage defense and stuff like that. Okay, he threw 400 yards and 3 touchdowns when they were healthy.
He's a beast.
He scored 41 points on them each time this year.
He's a beast.
Joe Burrow's dominated them regardless if they were out with a bunch of players on COVID. Jamar Chase dominated Marlon Humphrey. So let's not even play that because Burrow was dominating them before this.